gentlemen, welcome to the Pro League Qualifier Draw Show. Hopefully you all enjoyed your holidays. I know we did as well. Joining myself, Benson, is going to be Momo, Merc, and Nameless. We're excited for Call of Duty action to kick off. And behind us, a brand new set which will be unveiling at the Pro League Qualifier. You guys can't see it, but we've seen it, and I can tell you, it's pretty special, that's for sure. But Nameless, you're our expert ball drawer now whenever we do our pool shows. You've given us some pretty good pools in the past, and honestly, I'm excited to see what you give us here today.
It's going to be crazy for sure. It's these teams' last chance to make it into the league, and these pools are going to be a big factor in that. So we'll see what we draw up, but it's going to be crazy.
And it is worth mentioning, you may see an extra couple of pots here. That's because the format is a little bit different. Of course, we're going to have 4 groups of 7, which is drastically different, Merc.
Yeah, it absolutely is. 28 teams, they qualified from Vegas, based on their placings. The top 4 teams from Vegas aren't here, right? They've already qualified and solidified their spot into the Pro League, but it's the next 28 that'll be here, and only 12 teams will qualify out of those 28. I mean, you could say we have probably the rest of the best in the world right now from all over the world. It's going to be an exciting week.
Of course, the Pro League qualified January 16th through the 20th. A lot of pressure here, Phil, for these teams fighting for their spot in the Pro League.
And I think it's important to say, no matter how well you played at Vegas, it's now, yes, you're in the top 32, you've made it here, but it's now the time to shine. You've got to get this last spot. You've got to get to the Pro League qualifier. They're here. Can they go that one step further? Some won't, some will, but it's time to find out.
Yeah, most definitely is. In terms of Pot A, that is going to consist of just 2 teams. That's Team Sween and Lightning Pandas. That's because they finished 5th, 6th at Vegas. So without further ado, Nameless, can you draw our first team?
You know I got you. And it is Team Sween.
Okay, so Team Sween, they will slide on in to Pool A. That means Lightning Pandas, they will go over to Pool B. And just to quickly talk about Lightning Pandas as a team, Joe, they're kind of a squad which I'll hold my hands up myself and say I kind of underestimated them a little bit, but they gave us a good showing in Vegas.
I think Team Sween as well, right? When you looked at Europe coming into this year, Reciprocity, Red Reserve, those were the 2 big teams out of Europe that we thought were going to make a huge splash. At Vegas, they didn't. They got outperformed by these couple of teams. And yeah, I think for Lightning Pandas, a couple of guys, Mad Cat and Josh, are very excited for this roster. Can't wait to see them perform at the Pro League qualifier.
Obviously, Team Sween, a great performance from them in Vegas, Phil. Did you expect to see them to qualify?
I expected them to be here, that top 32, but I did not expect them to be in that 5th, 6th spot. Neither Lightning Pandas, and I think that was a surprise for everyone. But I think it just kind of made a statement for these guys where, you get the game at the same time as everyone else. It's the grind. It's the beginning of the game. We saw, obviously, last year, the likes of TK pick it up really quickly. These guys, they did so too.
Okay, well, that's Pot A done and dusted. Pot B, that consists of Evil Geniuses and Straight Rippin'. Of course, they will be drawn into C and D. Nameless.
Woohoo, Straight Rippin'.
Okay, so the Straight Rippin', they fall into Pool C. For Evil Geniuses, they now will go into Pool D. And again, there were 2 teams, Joe, who had a great performance at Vegas.
They absolutely did. I think a lot of hype for this Straight Rippin' roster, right? Spacely, Havoc, everyone sort of making their comeback to the top. They performed very, very well. Again, they had to get in the pools on Thursday before Vegas. They were able to do that. And then, yeah, they performed very well. But EG, a team, they get top 8, but they still go through with the roster change. They're able to pick up for Facento from G2. We'll have to see how they perform.
How big of an effect do you think that is actually going to be there, Phil?
I think, again, making the roster change that they did was, people will question it. People think why what have they done? But again, it's what mistakes they could have improved on. For these 4, obviously we know the likes of Revan working with them as well. That's a team decision. They saw flaws in their own gameplay and they thought Facento may be a better fit. And honestly, I wish the best for them. I think these guys can push, but it's how far. Can they get to that top 6, that top 4? But again, a great showing in Vegas.
Well, a very important event for them as the rest of the teams. But we'll move on. At Pot C, this consists of Team Reciprocity, Team Envious, Red Reserve, and 100 Thieves. And the fact that they're slowed down is a little scary, I'll be honest, and not what a lot of people expected. But then we should join the first team.
Red Reserve.
That is going to be Red Reserve. And obviously, Joe, you talked about the other European teams outside of Sweden Lightning Pandas. Red Reserve was a squad which we kind of expected to do a little bit better than they did.
When's it going to happen, Ben? They got the roster they wanted. They got the 5th they wanted. They wanted Bance. They got him. They have all the talent in the world. We saw it last year. They got the championship finals. When are they going to win a title? That's the big question for me.
I think they look better now online recently.
A lot of
we got 100 Thieves now.
Okay, 100 Thieves drawn as well. So 2 teams left there in Pot C. That's Reciprocity and Team Envious. But 100 Thieves, another team, Phil, who's had their woes online.
I think 100 Thieves and Red Reserve, coming up to this part of the year, both of them underachieved, not seen the best of them, but 2 talented rosters, which, as you see, go into C and D. They again will look at their pools and think, we're happy with this so far, but more pools and more teams, of course, to be drawn.
Of course, if this is your first pool draw show, you'll know it's a bit of a reverse snake draft, if you will. So DC means Team Envious. Now they will be drawn into Pool B, which leaves Team Reciprocity left in that pot C. And you do the honors, they will fall into Pool A. So already starting to see our pools develop a little bit, but plenty of other teams still to go.
Yeah, it is. Obviously, when you look at these sort of first 8 teams, these are the heavy hitters, sort of the quality matches that we'll see. But for these guys, they just have to survive. If you do get top 2 in your pool, right, you automatically do qualify. But there we go. We could take a look. I mean, there's some very good matches. You know, Lightning Pandas versus Team Envious. That should be a fun one. Heck, even Team Sween versus Reciprocity. That's a bit of an EU showdown. Can't wait for that.
Yeah, again, ex-teammates going up against each other in A. But again, I think all round, you know, so far so good. But like you said, some heavy hitters already drawn. Interesting to see them so far, but absolutely insane.
All right, moving on. Pot D, that consists of FaZe Clan, UYU, G2 Esports, and the Pittsburgh Knights. So you're on point today. I even have to call it. You draw FaZe Clan straight away into Pool A. And the interesting thing to note here in terms of the way the format works, I don't want to talk about it too much because I know we'll talk about it a little bit later on, but the top 2 teams from groups auto-qualify, bottom 2 don't. So already Pool A getting a bit spicy.
Yeah, Pool A is definitely spicy, and obviously when you talk about FaZe, they made that team change. They go for it. They go for that young talent and selling them. They drop methods. We'll see if it's going to pay off here because that Pool A right now is looking dangerous.
G2, they will be drawn into Pool B, and obviously, you heard Joe talk a little bit about young talent. Well, we know young talent definitely works out this year. We saw it with Dashi. For FaZe, they're looking for a similar story, Phil.
Yeah, and I don't think it's necessarily the wrong move. You know, when something's not working, you make that change. It's, you know, a 5v5 game now. You've got to come together as a team, and FaZe are one to kind of say, you know what, maybe we did something wrong. But Methods himself obviously finds himself under G2. Talking to G2 now, goes into B with Envy and Lightning Pandas. I actually think that's kind of maybe a win-win on situations for G2 and FaZe, because I feel like Methods may be a bit more comfortable there, but we'll have to wait and see.
Well, now you can see Pittsburgh Knights, they have been drawn as well, which leaves just UYU left as well, so they will be drawn back down into Pool D. And in terms of, yes, we don't have that many teams left, but I think, are we all kind of in agreement so far? Pool A is probably looking like the scary one so far?
Yeah, I think Pool A or B, absolutely. I think G2, they've picked up a couple of heavy hitters in Methods in Lacefield. When you first looked at that roster when they went into Vegas, there was a ton of pressure on guys like Decimate and Blastful to really, you know, pick up the slaying power for them. So they made a couple adjustments. I think Chino's in a much more comfortable place. I'd watch my eyes for G2 Esports. Okay, fair enough. Still 4 spots left for each of our pools, and that gives us Pot E. That consists of Mindfreak, Mazer Gaming, Heretics, and Accelerate GG. Heretics is a team I was personally very, very impressed by what we saw at Vegas. And Mindfreak is going to be the first team drawn. They will go down, I believe, into Pool D. And in terms of Mindfreak, Joe, a team again, a couple of changes. A brand new roster. Let me just read this out to you, this new roster, right? Beastin, Fida, Swifty, Shocks, and Luca. What you don't recognize Buzzo, right? He's moved into that coaching role, and you don't recognize Excite either. So a couple of new names, Mindfreak, they're going for that new talent. We'll see if that will pay off.
Now, for the next team being drawn,
Accelerate.
Okay, Accelerate GG. So 2 teams left in that potty, of course, Mazer and Heretics. Heretics, the Spanish squad, excited to see which pool they fall into. If it's Pool A, oh Lord, that is going to be very, very scary, Phil.
It is.
But in terms of Heretics gameplay, I was very, very impressed with what I saw in Vegas.
Yeah, it's different, it's aggressive, it's a bit wild, and we'll see, of course, where Heretics go. Accelerate was actually a team that I got to cast over a lot of Vegas. Okay. You know, names that you are familiar with, Fastballer, BZ, Emery's, Believe, and Profizi. These guys, they just seem to be clicking well, and I think the 5v5 change for them has improved them. Again, excited to see where Accelerate can go.
All right, Nameless. We got Mazer Gaming and Heretics left. Who falls into Pool B?
The form.
It's beautiful form. It's beautiful form.
Heretics.
Okay, Heretics, they fall into Pool B. Mazer Gaming, of course, is there left at Pot E, unless you can draw it just to, for formality's sake, but they will fall into Pool A. And in terms of Mazer, Joe, any players kind of stand out to you on that roster?
I think Rambi and Teddy Rex, obviously that duo, they've really made their way up the scales, and this is another opportunity for them. I mean, when you talk about these next couple of pots that we're going to go through, who's going to bring the upset potential? Because, again, only 12 teams will make it. That would say, seeds 17 through, 28, 30, where we're going through. Are these teams going to upset those who placed very, very well at Vegas?
That's basically what you're trying to do, right? Just survive at least the first group. Don't finish bottom 2, and then you'll advance through to a bracket play. But moving forward, Pot F, we have Midnight, Tainted Minds, Imperial, and FC Black. A lot of talk, of course, around that FC Black. And, well, there you go. Speak of the devil, FC Black, the first team drawn.
Yeah, again, some fantastic plays on here. Phantoms, Marsh, ASIM, again, to read it out for you, Gravity, and Tish. These are players which, FaZe Clan clearly believe in. To be under that roster, that name, that organization, that says something. I think these guys got a lot to live up to. But of course, moving swiftly on, I believe Tainted Minds. Okay.
All right. Tainted Minds. Still 2 more teams left in that pot F, Midnight and Imperial. And you've been busy drawing, but I know you're a wise man when it comes to Call of Duty esports. So I'm just curious, in terms of the pools so far, we'll take a look at them again. Anything kind of catching your eye so far?
I think that pool A is already kind of crazy. You got both A's. You got both A's teams. You got Mazer, Reciprocity between. It's insane.
Yikes.
And then also, all the pools are tough, right? These are the best teams in the world. But I'm looking at Pool C as well. Like Pittsburgh Knights, they've looked pretty good. 100 Thieves, we'll see if they've turned it around. And then Straight Rippin' is a team that, did they peak at Vegas? What is their actual peak? We don't know what their potential is just yet. So, all these groups are insane to me, but Pool A just stands out.
Definitely does. Of course, 28 teams, 12 make it to the Pro League. It's going to be a crazy 5 days of the Pro League qualifier. But moving forward, next team drawn is going to be Midnight. Midnight will fall into Pool C. That leaves Imperial left. They will drop into Pool D. But talking a little bit about Midnight, Phil, any big players stand out to you there?
Again, team that I got to cast over at Vegas. For me, Pazelian was a player that kind of stood out, but Llama God is that player to kind of go off and drop those big numbers. But again, it's, how much impact can one player, have on a game now? And for me, I think I'm looking at Llama God to do some big stuff there.
On there, of course, Imperial pulled from Nameless just for the formality, and that leaves Pot G. Just 2 more pots left. 8 teams need to be drafted. Here's a look at our pools so far. Pot G, that consists of Team Divine, Overtime, Fact Revolution, and Movie Star Riders. And this, Joe, is kind of where we get down to the teams that clutched up. They clutched up in Vegas. They made their spot. They secured their spot into the qualifier. The question of, can they upset some of the other teams?
When you're looking at these next sets of teams, they just wanted to get to this point, right? And they were able to do that. And as you said, can they do it? Do any of these teams have the upset potential, or are they just going to get knocked out in pool play?
Well, Movie Star Riders, that's the first to be pulled. Nameless, the second. We'll see. Still Team Divine, Overtime, and Fact Revolution left in
Overtime.
Pot G, and it's going to be Overtime, of course. In terms of Movie Star Riders, the Spanish squad, Phil.
Yeah.
The Spaniards, they came out in full force at Vegas, and I'm kind of praying. I want to see some Spanish representation in the league.
They come out in full force, but so do their fans. That's the crazy thing. When the Spanish play, the fans get behind them. That's what's exciting. But I think it's important to highlight these are the teams that you maybe expect not to make it. These that could finish bottom 2 as we draw them in our final 2 spots. But a lot to prove, some very, very tough competition, and just look at how many good teams we've got. Yeah. Movie Star Riders in D, Overtime in C.
Well, Team Divine, Fact Revolution, the 2 teams left in Pot G, and it will be Fact Revolution drawn into Pool B, and that leaves Team Divine, of course, to fill that final spot. And in terms of those 2 teams, Joe, I'm asking you, it's kind of a similar question. Any big names stand out? Any names that maybe fans may be familiar with?
When you look at Fact Revolution, you look at guys like Maple, who played with Tommy last year, Sonny B, a guy who wasn't in the Pro League last year, maybe had an off year, but the year before that's when Sonny B played with the Twins on Fnatic. So definitely some guys who, if they can perform at their highest level, maybe they can cause some upsets.
Well, Team Divine, as I said, they fall into Pool A, but that leaves one final pot. Pot H, Enigma 6, Giants, Nation of Power, Out Cold Gaming. The first one will be drawn into what is a pretty scary Pool A.
Oh, that was the one.
That was like, wow.
Oh, man. Oh, brother.
Pool A is insane.
Remember when I said you give us good pools? Well, you gave us a very stacked Pool A. Thank you very much, Nameless. E6 going to what I think we're going to consider now maybe what is the group of death.
100%, yeah.
Right, that's a scary, scary pool. Giants, Nation of Power, and Out Cold Gaming is going to be Giants. They are drawn into Pool B, which I believe is where Heretics are. So we do have a little bit of a Spanish fight there in Pool B.
Yeah, we do. And again, Giants are a team which a lot will underestimate, but the likes of Giants and Heretics going up against each other, they're going to know each other, inside and out, but it's what they can do against the rest of the competition that I'm kind of excited about. The likes of Giants versus G2, Envy, Lightning Pandas, insane to say the least, but very tough group, B.
Well, just 2 more teams. Nation of Power, Out Cold Gaming. Nameless, if you could do the honors.
Out Cold.
Out Cold Gaming. drawn into Pool C, which leaves Nation of Power, which will go into the final spot into Pool D. Again, we'll let you pull it just for the formality's sake, so we know it's there, and that completes the pool's draws. We know our pools now, and you've heard us mention it a couple of times, but that Pool A, that is a scary, scary place to be, and it's so important to reiterate the importance here. The top 2 from the pools will automatically qualify for group play. The bottom 2 will be knocked out. Everybody else in the middle will progress forward towards some bracket play games, but I mean, Pool A, like we said, Joe, scary, scary place to be.
But this is what you want if you're one of these teams. You're playing a minimum, Ben, a minimum 6 games to get your chance into that Pro League qualifier. It's not 1 or 2 to say you didn't make the league. It is 6. This is as much as you could ask for to get into a league, so we'll have to just see. It comes down to day to day. That's all it is. Who can play best on that day?
And obviously, in terms of qualifiers, I know 3 former players. You've all been a part of them. I know you never lost one. You only lost one.
Some heartbreak.
I think you're 100% because you actually played in one qualifier and you won your qualifier.
I cannot be compared to these two. This is unfair. However, I will say qualifiers they're scary because that's where the nerfs set in, and especially for these guys, I think it's like the rest of your year is being set up right now. You need over the next, days, weeks, whatever, you need to be putting that time in. I'm sure they all are, but 28 teams are obviously coming here, and only a select few will go through, of course 12, but it's going to be tough. It's hard to send some home.
Well, a lot of pressure on the line. We know our pools, only one thing remains, and one question from our 28 teams that we have right now: which 12 will make it into the Pro League? That concludes the draw show. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining me, and we'll see you at the Pro League qualifier.